There are exactly three kinds of people you should never trust on a college campus. Anyone who says, "This'll only take a second." Anyone who smiles before asking for a favor. And your best friend when she's holding a pink envelope with little hearts on it. My name's Beavis. 20 minutes ago, I handed that envelope to the one person I should have never gotten involved with. This is the story of how I accidentally started dating the golden boy of our acting department, and how the wrong love letter somehow found the right person. Please? Lara pressed both hands together so dramatically she looked like she was auditioning for a soap opera instead of begging outside the Performing Arts building. You're already heading to the acting department. I am the acting department. Exactly. That makes it even easier. She shoved the envelope against my chest before I could invent another excuse. I just need you to hand this to Andy. I stared at the name written across the front. Andy Carter. Every university has one. The golden boy. Lead actor in every production. Captain of the intramural football team. Honor student. The guy professors adored, freshmen admired, seniors respected, and somehow even janitors greeted by name. Meanwhile, I once spent an entire semester sitting beside him in voice and movement without saying anything more impressive than, "Sorry, that's my water bottle." Lara, she tilted her head. If this goes wrong, I'm haunting you. She laughed. It's a love letter, not a bomb. Those words aged terribly. Finding Andy wasn't difficult. Half the campus seemed to orbit around him. He had just finished rehearsal, script tucked beneath one arm, while two classmates argued over tomorrow's scene beside him. I waited until they drifted away before walking over. Hey. He looked up immediately, warm brown eyes, that annoyingly effortless smile. Beavis, right? Acting 2. He knew my name? Oh, yeah. My confidence packed its bags and left. Brilliant start. I held out the envelope. This is for... Andy accepted it before I finished. He glanced at the handwriting, then unfolded the letter with casual curiosity. My mouth opened. I just needed one more second. One sentence. It's from Lara. Instead, his eyes skimmed the first few lines. Something softened across his face. He folded the paper again, looked straight at me, and smiled. I didn't expect this. I blinked. What? But... His shoulders relaxed as though he'd just made a decision. I'd like to give this a chance. Every functioning brain cell inside my head simultaneously resigned. I'm sorry? He took one small step closer. I said yes. The world froze. No, 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 no. He thought, oh my God! A voice exploded somewhere behind us. Someone nearly dropped a stack of costume boxes. Andy just accepted Beavis's confession. Every head in the hallway snapped toward us. Conversations died. Phones appeared with terrifying speed. I could actually feel my soul leaving my body. Andy was still looking at me with that calm, impossible smile. And I realized he was waiting for my answer. I had two options. 1. Stay, explain the letter belonged to Lara, restore order, save my dignity, and avoid turning into campus gossip by dinner. 2. Run. Unfortunately, I was raised by anxiety and poor timing. So I ran. Not gracefully either. I turned too fast, clipped my shoulder against a costume rack, sent 3 feather boas sliding to the floor, and nearly took out a freshman carrying fake swords. Sorry. Very strong exit, very masculine, very alleged boyfriend material apparently. Behind me, someone shouted, Beavis, wait! Andy. That should have stopped me. It did not. My sneakers squeaked against the hallway tile as I escaped the Performing Arts building like I was fleeing a crime scene, which, emotionally, I was. By the time I made it across the quad, my phone had already started vibrating. The first message was from Lara. Did you give it to him? Before I could answer, another one popped up. Why is Mia texting me that Andy has a boyfriend? Then a third. Beavis. I ducked behind a tree like the squirrels might offer witness protection. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. How exactly does one type? Good news, he said yes. Bad news, he thinks I asked him out. Worse news, I sprinted away before correcting him. I chose honesty. Small complication. Lara called immediately. I stared at her name until the phone stopped ringing. Then she called again. And again. By the fourth call, I answered. "What did you do?" Her voice was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm people use before throwing chairs. "I delivered the letter." And? "And Andy accepted." A pause. "Accepted what?" I closed my eyes. Me. Silence. Then Lara made a sound I'd only ever heard from broken printers. "Beavis." "I know." "You were supposed to say it was from me." "I tried." "With words?" "Eventually." "Eventually is not a communication strategy." "Fair. Completely fair." I slid down the tree until I was crouched in the grass, watching two girls walk past while whispering and glancing at me. One of them smiled. The other mouthed, "Congratulations." I wanted nature to reclaim me. By that night, the rumor had grown legs, bought shoes, and sprinted straight onto the campus gossip page. Someone posted, "Andy Carter said yes to Beavis Parker?" Someone else replied, "Wait, Beavis from acting 2? Cute, quiet boy supremacy." Then came the edits. Andy and me walking in the same hallway last month. Andy handing me a prop knife during rehearsal. Andy laughing at something near me, which apparently counted as evidence of yearning. My phone buzzed one last time before midnight. Lara again. "Tomorrow, you fix this." I typed back the only lie I had left. "Obviously." Then I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying Andy's face. Not the rumor, not the screaming. His face. The way his smile had softened when he thought the letter was mine. Like the idea hadn't disgusted him. Like maybe... No, absolutely not. That thought was illegal. The next morning I found Andy outside the Black Box Theater, leaning against the wall with a coffee in one hand and my entire disaster in the other. The pink envelope. He lifted it slightly. "Morning, boyfriend." My lungs forgot their purpose. "We need to talk." Andy smiled. "Yeah, we do." Andy Carter had no right to look that relaxed while holding the weapon that had destroyed my social life. The pink envelope sat between his fingers like evidence in a trial. Unfortunately, I was both the defendant and the idiot who fled the crime scene. First, I lifted one hand. "I need to explain." Andy tilted his coffee toward me. "Great. Start with why you ran." "Because everyone was staring." "They were staring because you ran." "They were staring before I ran." "Beavis," his mouth curved, "you knocked over 3 feather boas." "I was under emotional attack." That got him. A short laugh slipped out before he hid it behind his coffee cup, and for one very stupid second, I forgot why I was panicking. Then I remembered Lara. The letter wasn't mine. Andy glanced down at the envelope again, thumb brushing over Lara's neat, looping handwriting. For half a second, something unreadable crossed his face. Then it was gone. Andy didn't move, not even a blink. I forced the words out faster before my courage expired. "Lara wrote it. She asked me to give it to you. I tried to say that, but you opened it, and then you said yes, and then someone screamed, and then my body made an executive decision without consulting me." His eyes stayed on mine. Calm. Too calm. "So you didn't confess to me?" "No." "And you don't want to date me?" My throat tightened around a very simple answer. No. That was the correct answer. The ethical answer. The answer that would fix everything. So why did it feel like stepping off a curb and realizing there was no street underneath? "I didn't say that." Andy went still. I also went still. Inside my head, a tiny version of me threw itself down a staircase. I grabbed the nearest sentence and prayed it had legs. That's not the point." His smile returned slowly, dangerously. "Then what is the point?" "The point is, people think you accepted a confession I didn't make." "Exactly." Andy pushed off the wall and stepped closer. "Which means if you tell everyone it was a misunderstanding now, I look like an idiot." "You don't look like an idiot. You look like Andy Carter. People clap when you breathe." His eyebrow lifted. That sounded bitter. It was observational. It sounded jealous. It was academic. Andy leaned down just enough that I smelled coffee and mint on his breath. My brain opened 6 emergency exits and used none of them. I said yes in front of half the department. His voice dropped softer. "Do you know what happens if the golden boy gets publicly rejected by someone who sprinted away from him?" I swallowed. "You get character development?" He laughed again, fuller this time, and the sound did something annoying behind my ribs. Then his expression softened. "Help me keep this from turning into a joke." The hallway noise faded a little. For the first time, he didn't look like the guy everyone watched. He looked like someone asking for cover. "What do you want me to do?" Andy glanced toward the classroom doors as students began filing in. "Just for a week," he said quietly. "Act like you meant it. If it gets uncomfortable, we stop." My stomach dropped. Before I could answer, Professor Holloway swept into the hall with her tablet under one arm. "There you two are." Her eyes sparkled with terrifying academic delight. "Perfect timing. Today's assignment is about romantic psychology." Andy looked at me. I looked at Andy. And somehow, I already knew my life was about to get worse. Professor Holloway had the kind of smile that made students nervous, not because she was cruel, because she enjoyed theater too much. "Since half of you confuse romance with staring dramatically across a room," she announced, setting her tablet on the desk, "we're studying relationship psychology through performance." A few students perked up. I did not. My survival instincts were screaming. "You'll pair up for 1 week, observe each other, build a believable emotional dynamic, then submit a joint reflection on how romantic attachment affects body language, conflict, vulnerability, and trust." Mia, sitting 2 rows ahead, slowly turned around and looked directly at me. I stared at my notebook like it owed me money. "Pairs will be assigned randomly." Thank God, finally. The universe had mercy. Then Andy raised his hand. My soul leapt through the nearest window. Professor Holloway's brows lifted. "Yes, Mr. Carter?" Andy didn't even look embarrassed. He leaned back in his chair, all calm confidence and unfair cheekbones. "Could Beavis and I work together?" The room went silent. Then it erupted. Not loudly, worse. Whispering. The kind of whispering that pretends it isn't whispering, while absolutely committing a felony against your privacy. I twisted toward him so fast my neck nearly snapped. "What are you doing?" I hissed. Andy gave me the smallest smile. "Taking responsibility. For ruining my blood pressure? For our relationship. Our fake misunderstanding. Our publicly accepted confession." I wanted to bite my pencil in half. Professor Holloway looked between us, delighted in the way only a drama professor could be delighted by suffering. "Well," she clasped her hands, "I did hear something about a new couple in my department." Heat rushed up my neck. "Oh no, that's not—" "Wonderful timing, actually." Her smile sharpened. "A real emotional foundation can make the work more honest." Real. Emotional. Foundation. I could feel Andy watching me. I refused to look at him because I had already made several mistakes this week, and eye contact with him was becoming a gateway drug. Professor Holloway tapped her tablet. "Approved. Beavis and Andy, 1 week. I expect nuance." Someone behind us whispered, "I expect kissing." I turned. Who said that? Half the class suddenly developed an interest in the ceiling. Andy rested his elbow on the desk, chin on his hand, looking painfully entertained. "You okay?" "No." "You look okay." "I look like a haunted Victorian child." "You look cute." My pen slipped. It hit the floor, loudly. 3 people laughed. I bent down too quickly, but Andy was faster. His hand reached mine under the desk, fingers brushing mine as he picked up the pen. It was nothing, a half-second touch, completely innocent. So naturally, my entire nervous system treated it like a marriage proposal. Andy placed the pen back on my notebook, his voice lower now. "First observation for our paper." I swallowed. "What?" His eyes flicked to my mouth, then back up. "When I get close, you stop breathing." Before I could respond, Professor Holloway clapped once. For homework, spend at least 1 hour together outside class today. Andy smiled like he had just won opening night. I realized with horror that the assignment hadn't trapped him with me. It had given him permission. That was day 1 of our assignment. By the end of it, I'd accidentally gained a fake boyfriend, a joint paper, and the kind of campus reputation that made strangers smile at me like they knew my blood type. By Tuesday afternoon, spending 1 hour alone with Andy Carter had become official academic labor, which felt illegal without a signed waiver and emotional insurance. Unfortunately, Professor Holloway believed in experiential learning. So there I was, walking beside Andy across campus while 3 people openly turned to stare. Ignore them. Easy for you. I tightened my grip on my backpack strap. You're used to people staring. Andy glanced down at me. Are you saying I'm beautiful? I'm saying you're a public safety hazard. That made his mouth twitch. We ended up in the student union because Andy claimed couples were most observable in casual social environments. I claimed he was making things up. He bought me an iced coffee anyway. For the assignment, he slid it across the table. You don't even know my order. Vanilla oat latte. You got one before every Tuesday rehearsal last semester. I stared at him. That was not fair. Remembering small things was relationship behavior. Fake relationship behavior did not require beverage surveillance. Andy leaned back, looking pleased with himself. Second observation? No, you get defensive when you're flustered. I'm not flustered. You've been stirring that coffee for 30 seconds. I looked down. My straw was committing a tiny hurricane. Across the room, 2 girls from our department noticed us. One covered her mouth, the other took out her phone. I immediately ducked. Andy reached across the table, gently catching my wrist before I could hide behind my backpack. Don't. His thumb rested lightly against my pulse, not holding tight, just enough to stop me from disappearing. If we look guilty, it gets worse. We are guilty. Of what? Fraud. Emotional fraud, academic fraud, possibly romantic tax evasion. Andy laughed softly, and the sound warmed something I had absolutely not authorized. Then his hand loosened, but he didn't pull away. Try this. His eyes stayed on mine. For 1 hour, don't run. That's your big plan? Yes. And what do I do instead? Stay. The word landed too quietly, too close. I hated how much I heard underneath it. So I looked away first, because apparently I was determined to lose every silent battle this man started. We spent the next 40 minutes pretending to observe couple psychology while mostly arguing about whether Andy was allowed to write "Beavis panics beautifully" in our notes. He was not. He wrote it anyway. Then my phone buzzed. Lara's name flashed across the screen, followed by 5 words I never wanted to see. We need to talk. Today. My stomach dipped. Andy noticed immediately. Bad news? I locked the screen too fast. Nothing. His expression changed, just slightly. Less teasing, more careful. Beavis. I hated that he could say my name like a hand at my back. It's Lara. The space between us shifted. Andy looked at my phone, then at me. About the letter? Before I could answer, Lara appeared at the entrance of the student union, eyes fixed on us. And she looked like someone who had finally decided to tell the truth. Lara looked at me, then at Andy, then at his hand, still resting close to mine on the table. Her expression did something complicated. Guilt, panic, and the unmistakable look of a person realizing her best friend had accidentally become the main character. Beavis, she stopped beside our table. Can we talk? I stood too quickly and nearly hit my knee. Yes, absolutely. Great idea. Talking. Love that. Andy rose too, slower, calmer. Of course he did. Golden boys probably learned graceful standing in kindergarten. Lara glanced at him. I should explain something. My stomach fell through the floor. Maybe not here, but everyone already thinks exactly. I leaned closer, whispering hard. Everyone. Lara's mouth shut. Across the student union, at least 4 people were pretending not to watch us while watching us with their entire souls. Andy noticed too. His smile didn't change, but his shoulders shifted slightly, placing himself between us and the room. It was subtle, protective, annoying, because my heart noticed. "Let's step outside." Andy picked up my coffee and handed it to me like that was a completely normal boyfriend thing to do. "Come on." Outside, Lara wrapped her arms around herself even though it wasn't cold. "I should have never asked you to deliver it." I waited for relief. This was the moment. She would tell Andy the truth. The rumor would die. My life would return to normal. I could go back to being a background student with decent monologues and 0 public romance scandals. So why did my chest feel tight? Andy leaned against the brick wall, watching Lara with gentle patience. "What did you want to say?" Lara swallowed. "The letter was mine." There it was, the truth. Clean, simple, fatal. I looked at Andy. He didn't look surprised, not even a little. Lara kept talking, words rushing now. "I wrote it weeks ago, before I realized I liked the idea of you more than you. That sounds awful, but you're kind of campus mythology, Andy. Everyone has a crush on you for 5 minutes." Andy gave a small nod. "Fair." "I panicked and gave it to Beavis because I thought maybe if you rejected me, I wouldn't have to be there to hear it. And when the rumors started, I froze. I knew if I told the truth too late, everyone would know I used my best friend as a shield." I turned to her. "Lara, I know." Her eyes softened. "It was selfish. It should have hurt more. Instead, I mostly felt tired." And then Andy's gaze moved to me, quiet, waiting. Lara exhaled. "I'll tell people. I'll fix it." My answer should have been instant. "Yes, please, end this." But the word stuck. Because if she fixed it, Andy wouldn't need me anymore. No coffee dates. No fake boyfriend jokes. No thumb brushing my pulse like he knew exactly where I was weakest. I hated that I hesitated. Andy saw it. Of course he saw it. His voice came soft, almost careful. "Beavis?" Lara looked between us, then her eyes widened. "Oh." I nearly dropped my coffee. "No, do not owe me." But Lara's guilty expression had changed into something much worse. Understanding. And Andy? Andy wasn't smiling this time. He looked at me like he had just realized the misunderstanding was over, and neither of us had moved away. There are moments in life when silence is powerful, romantic even. This was not one of them. This silence stood between me, Lara, and Andy like a neon sign flashing, "Beavis has feelings and poor damage control." "I should go," Lara blurted. "No, you should not go." I pointed at her with my coffee. "You are the original author of this disaster." She took one step back anyway, eyes darting between me and Andy. "I feel like I'm interrupting something." "You're interrupting a lawsuit." Andy folded his arms, smile tucked at one corner of his mouth. "Against who?" "Everyone." Lara gave my shoulder a squeeze as she passed. "Call me later." Then she paused, glancing back at Andy. "And for what it's worth, I think you like him more when nobody is watching." Andy didn't answer, but his eyes dropped to the coffee in my hand, the one he had remembered exactly. Lara's smile turned sad and fond at the same time. "Yeah," she murmured. "That's what I thought." "Lara," she was already walking backward. "And Beavis?" "What?" Her guilty smile turned softer. "Maybe stop running before you decide what you're running from." Rude, accurate, but rude. Then she left me alone with Andy Carter, and the truth hovering somewhere near my throat. For a second, neither of us spoke. The campus noise filled the space. Skateboard wheels, distant laughter, someone yelling about a lost AirPod. Andy looked at me like he had all the time in the world. I hated that about him. I also maybe liked it. "So," he tilted his head. "You hesitated." I was processing. Very emotionally. Academically. Beavis. My name again, soft, direct, unfair. I looked down at my melting latte. "Don't make this bigger than it is." "I'm not." "You are smiling like you just solved a murder." "Maybe I did." I groaned. "Please stop being charming during my crisis." Andy stepped closer, not enough to crowd me, just enough that my pulse remembered his thumb from earlier and started acting stupid.
I'm not trying to trap you.
That made me look up. His expression had changed. No teasing now, just something careful. If you want Lara to tell everyone, we let her. If you want me to tell everyone, I will. I'll take the embarrassment. That surprised me. You said your face would have nowhere to go. I was being dramatic. You're an acting major. Exactly. A laugh escaped before I could stop it. Andy's eyes softened, like he'd been waiting for that sound. Then he reached out, slow enough for me to move away if I wanted. I didn't. His fingers brushed a loose coffee sleeve from where it had folded awkwardly under my grip. Such a stupid, tiny touch. It still made my breath catch. There, he murmured. Third observation. I narrowed my eyes. Do not write about my breathing again. No. His gaze flicked up. This one's about trust. My chest went strangely warm. Before I could answer, his phone buzzed. Andy glanced at the screen. His face changed immediately. The warmth vanished. What is it? He locked the phone too fast. Nothing. Funny, that was exactly what I had said earlier. Only when Andy said it, he looked like someone had just reminded him golden boys weren't allowed to make mistakes. By Wednesday, I had learned two things. 1. Fake dating Andy Carter was very bad for my nervous system. 2. Andy Carter was very good at pretending his phone wasn't ruining his day. He tried to put it away before rehearsal started. I noticed because I had recently become a professional Andy noticer, which was embarrassing and unpaid. That didn't look like nothing. His smile returned too quickly. Observation 4. You worry. I observe. You stare. I am studying romantic psychology. Very committed student. I wanted to argue, but his phone buzzed again. This time I saw the name before he flipped it over. Dad. Andy went still. Not dramatic still. Worse. The quiet kind. Do you need to answer? No. He slipped the phone into his pocket. We have class notes to finish. That was a lie. A beautiful, well-trained golden boy lie. So I did something dangerous. I didn't let him escape. Andy? His jaw tightened. For the first time since this whole disaster started, he looked less like the guy who could walk into any room and own it. He looked tired. My dad heard the rumor. Oh. Yeah. The word came out flat, but his eyes didn't. They flicked away, toward the theater building, toward anywhere that wasn't me. He has opinions. About you dating a guy? Andy gave a small laugh with no humor in it. About me letting people talk, about distractions, about how scholarships disappear when donors get uncomfortable. My stomach sank. That's not fair. No, but it is familiar. The wind moved between us. Not cinematic, just cold enough that I noticed his hand was clenched. I reached out before I could overthink it and touched his wrist. Barely. A question, not a claim. Andy looked down at my hand like it startled him. Then he relaxed. Just a little. You don't have to keep pretending for my sake, I whispered. His eyes came back to mine. What if I'm not? My brain stopped, then restarted incorrectly. Not what? Pretending. I should have made a joke. Jokes were safe. Jokes were exits with neon signs. But Andy was looking at me like the answer mattered, and suddenly I didn't want to be funny. I wanted to be brave. Unfortunately, bravery arrived late, got lost, and sent anxiety instead. We should go inside. His mouth softened, not disappointed exactly. Patient. Okay. We walked back toward the black box theater without touching. Somehow that felt louder than holding hands. At the classroom door, Andy paused. Beavis? I turned. He leaned closer, voice low enough that only I could hear. For the record, when people talk about you like you're a distraction, his gaze dropped to my mouth for half a second. I think they're wrong. My face went hot. Then Professor Holloway stepped out of the rehearsal room, script tucked under one arm. Perfect. Since you're both early, help me warm up the class. I looked at Andy. Andy looked at me. From inside the room, someone whispered, Oh, this is going to be good. And Professor Holloway smiled. Beavis, you'll fall. Andy will catch you. For the record, I believed in trust. Emotionally. Theoretically. From a safe distance. I did not believe in falling backward in front of 14 acting students, while Andy Carter stood behind me looking like an unfairly handsome safety net. Professor Holloway clapped once. The point is surrender. Beavis, don't perform trust. Experience it. I would rather perform taxes. A few people laughed. Andy stepped behind me, close enough that I felt warmth at my back, not touching, worse, waiting. His voice lowered near my ear. I've got you. My body reacted like that was a legally binding vow. Don't say things like that during class. Why? Because I'm trying to survive the assignment. His breath shifted, maybe a laugh, maybe mercy. Professor Holloway lifted her tablet. Whenever you're ready. I was not ready. I had never been less ready. But the whole class was watching, and Andy's father was apparently out there treating my existence like a threat to donor relations, and Lara's letter was still haunting us from beyond the backpack. So I crossed my arms over my chest, closed my eyes, and fell. For half a second, there was nothing, just air, just panic, just my stomach jumping into my throat and filing a formal complaint. Then Andy caught me. Solid arms wrapped around my middle, careful but firm. My back hit his chest, and his hand settled at my ribs like he knew exactly how fragile I felt and had decided to handle me accordingly. The room went quiet. Too quiet. I opened my eyes. Andy was looking down at me, not at the class, not at Professor Holloway. Me. You okay? I should have said yes. Instead, my mouth chose honesty. No. His thumb shifted lightly against my side. Want me to let go? That question did something worse than the catch. It made me feel safe. I swallowed. Not yet. A tiny sound moved through the room. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Professor Holloway, traitor to privacy, looked deeply satisfied. Excellent. That hesitation right there. That's useful. Write it down. Andy helped me stand, but his hand stayed at my elbow a moment longer than necessary. I didn't pull away. That was my problem. I kept not pulling away. After class, people crowded the hallway, buzzing about the exercise like we'd performed Shakespeare shirtless. Mia passed us with a grin. Your paper better be amazing. I covered my face. I'm transferring. Andy walked beside me, quiet now. Too quiet. When we reached the stairwell, I stopped. Your dad. His shoulders stiffened. I immediately regretted saying it, but Andy turned back anyway. What about him? If this gets worse because of me, it's not because of you. It started because of me. It started because I said yes. My chest tightened. Before I could answer, his phone buzzed again. Andy ignored it. Then mine buzzed. Unknown number. A message popped up with a screenshot from the campus gossip page. Golden Boy's secret boyfriend. Real love or publicity stunt? Under it was a blurry photo from class. Andy catching me, his arms around me. My face tilted up toward his. And one comment pinned at the top made my blood run cold. Ask Andy's dad what he thinks. By Thursday morning, the gossip page had stopped being funny. It wasn't just shipping anymore. It was turning Andy into a headline, and me into the punchline attached to him. My first instinct was to throw my phone into the stairwell. My second was to throw myself after it. Andy took the phone gently from my hand before either plan matured. His eyes moved over the post. Something in his face shut down. Not anger, not panic. Worse. Practice. Like he had spent years learning how to disappear while standing perfectly still. Andy, he handed the phone back. Don't read the comments. Too late. Then don't believe them. I looked at the pinned line again. Ask Andy's dad what he thinks. My stomach twisted. Who would write that? Someone who knows enough to be cruel. His voice stayed even, but his hand had curled into a fist at his side. I stepped closer without thinking. Hey, Andy stared past me, jaw tight. So I did the only brave thing my body managed all week. I touched his hand. His fingers loosened slowly beneath mine. A breath left him, not dramatic, just human. "I can tell Lara to post the truth," I whispered. "End it before this hurts you more." Andy looked down at our hands, then back at me. "And if ending it hurts me more?" My chest went still. The stairwell suddenly felt too small. "Andy," he smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "My dad doesn't like mess. He built his whole life around people clapping at the right moments. Scholarships, donors, alumni dinners, everything has to look clean. And you? I'm part of the display." The words hit harder because he said them softly. No self-pity, just fact. I hated it. I hated that everyone saw Andy glowing and never wondered who kept polishing him until it hurt. "You're not a display." His eyes searched mine like he wanted to believe me, but didn't know where to put the belief. "I'm serious." My voice shook, which was deeply inconvenient, but honest. "You're allowed to be messy. You're allowed to like whoever you like. You're allowed to not have a press release prepared for breathing." That startled a laugh out of him. Small, real, beautiful enough to ruin me. "You're weirdly good at this." "At what?" "Making me feel less like a headline." My phone was still in my hand. For once, I didn't hide behind panic. I opened the gossip post and typed before I could lose my nerve. I hit post. A second later, my words appeared on the screen. "Beavis Parker, Andy isn't a publicity stunt. He's a person. Maybe try treating him like one." Andy stared at the screen, then at me. "You didn't have to do that." My hand shook a little, but I didn't put the phone away. "Yeah," I said. "I did." I looked down before my face betrayed me completely. Too late. Andy saw. Of course he saw. His thumb brushed once over my knuckles. "So here's my question." I swallowed. "That sounds dangerous." "It is." His gaze didn't move from mine. "Do you want Lara to tell everyone the truth because you want this to stop?" He stepped closer, not trapping me, just asking. "Or because some part of you already knows it stopped being fake?" I had no answer, which was unfortunate because the stairwell door opened behind us. Professor Holloway stood there, eyes flicking from our joined hands to our faces. Then she smiled. "Perfect. Whatever this is, bring it to the scene study tomorrow." By Friday night, Professor Holloway's final scene study was less than 24 hours away. By bring it to the scene study, she meant weaponize your emotional breakdown for a grade. Acting majors are not okay. I spent that night staring at a blank Google Doc titled Romantic Attachment Reflection, which was generous because the only thing attached was my sanity to a thread. At 11:14 p.m., my phone lit up with Andy's name. One message. "Still awake?" I should have ignored it. Responsible people slept. Emotionally stable people set boundaries. I typed back immediately. Unfortunately, 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Tomorrow, can we use the truth?" My fingers froze. The truth was dangerous. The truth was Lara's letter. The truth was Andy saying yes when he already knew it wasn't mine. The truth was me not wanting him to take it back. I wrote 3 answers, deleted all of them. Finally, "Which part?" His reply came slower this time, like he had typed it, deleted it, then decided to be brave anyway. "The part where I wanted you to stay." Very rude. Very late-night emotional vandalism. I pressed my phone to my chest and stared at the ceiling like it could file a complaint on my behalf. The next morning, Andy was already in the Black Box Theater when I arrived. No crowd around him, no practiced smile. Just him sitting on the edge of the stage, script in hand, looking almost nervous. That was new and devastating. "You look like you might throw up," I offered. His mouth twitched. "Good morning to you too." I say that with concern. I know. He patted the spot beside him. I sat, leaving a respectable distance. Andy looked at the gap, then at me. "Wow." "What?" "Very professional." "I'm preserving academic integrity." "You're hiding." "Also that." His smile faded into something softer. "Beavis, I hated how one word could pull me closer than his hand ever had. He unfolded a page from his notebook. Not the assignment, a letter. My stomach flipped. I wrote something for the scene. You wrote a letter? Seemed appropriate. That's cursed. A little. He handed it to me. I took it carefully, like it might explode pink glitter and ruin my life again. The first line made my throat close. I said yes before I knew what I was allowed to want. I looked up. Andy wasn't smiling now. I suspected it wasn't your handwriting. The room went silent around us. My pulse hit hard. You knew? His fingers tightened around the edge of the stage. Not immediately, but soon enough. So why didn't you stop me before I made a complete idiot of myself? Because at first, I thought correcting it would save my image. Then I realized I didn't want to correct it, because I wanted one more reason to talk to you. That was selfish. I know that now. The words landed clean. No performance, no golden boy polish. Just Andy. And suddenly the most terrifying part wasn't that he had known. It was that I had wanted him to. I should have been angry. That felt like the correct reaction. Andy had known. He had known the letter wasn't mine and still let the rumor grow legs, buy sneakers, and sprint directly over my dignity. But anger requires distance, and Andy was sitting beside me on the edge of the stage, holding nothing but the truth with both hands. You could have told me. His eyes dropped. I know. You watched me panic for days. I did. His voice went rough at the edges. And I'm sorry. Not cute sorry, not charming sorry. Actually sorry. That stopped me. Andy looked up, and for once, there was no golden boy left to hide behind. I told myself I was protecting my image. Then I told myself I was protecting you. But the truth is uglier than that. My fingers tightened around the paper. What truth? I wanted you to choose me before the mistake ended. That landed. I saw it in his shoulders before his face caught up. The golden boy cracked quietly. No dramatic collapse, just a breath he couldn't quite smooth out. I liked being chosen, Andy admitted, voice low. Even by mistake. My chest hurt in a way I had no script for. He looked at the empty theater seats. People choose the version of me they can brag about. The lead role, the scholarship guy, the one who smiles in donor photos. His laugh came small and bitter. Lara's letter felt like that too, at first. Pretty words for a pretty idea. Then his gaze returned to me. But you looked terrified. Real. Like you had accidentally dropped your whole heart on the floor and wanted to pick it up before anyone saw. My fingers tightened around his letter. I ran because it wasn't mine. I know. And because... I swallowed, hating how honest my voice sounded. For 1 second, I wished it was. Andy went still, the kind of still that listens. Not performs, not prepares. Listens. I looked down at the paper in my lap. If we're using the truth for the scene, then I need my own words. Andy didn't move as I tore a clean page from my notebook. My handwriting shook. Not beautifully, not romantically, like a person writing without armor. When I finished, I folded the paper once and held it out. He stared at it. This is yours? I nodded. Unfortunately. A smile touched his mouth, nervous and soft. Can I read it? No. His brows lifted. Not yet. I stood before I lost courage completely. During the scene. In class. Andy rose too, slower. The space between us felt charged, but not dangerous. Warm. Possible. Beavis. I turned at the stage steps. He was watching me like I had handed him something fragile and priceless. For the record, his fingers brushed the folded letter against his chest. I hope it's a confession. My face burned. I pointed at him with all the authority of a frightened raccoon. Don't get cocky, golden boy. His smile finally reached his eyes. Too late. I was already halfway gone. And this time, when I ran out of the theater, it wasn't to escape him. It was because tomorrow, in front of the whole class, I was going to tell Andy Carter the truth. By the next morning, my confession had been folded and unfolded so many times, It looked emotionally exhausted. Relatable. Before class started, I opened the campus gossip page one last time. My comment from Thursday was still there. So were the replies. Some kind, some cruel. Some acting like Andy's life was a public group project. My thumb hovered over the screen. Then I posted again. Another comment appeared under my profile. For the record, nobody forced Andy into anything, and nobody gets to turn him into a headline today. My hand shook after I hit send, but I didn't delete it. Andy saw the post from across the room. He didn't smile. He just pressed his folded letter against his chest and looked at me like I had done something braver than I felt. Professor Holloway dimmed the lights in the black box theater while the class settled into their seats. Beavis, Andy, her eyes gleamed. You're up. My legs briefly forgot they had bones. Andy met me center stage, calm on the outside, but his fingers flexed once at his side. Nervous. Good. I deserved company. He held his letter. I held mine. For once, nobody whispered. I unfolded the page. At first, I thought love was supposed to arrive cleanly, clearly, with the right name on the envelope. A few people laughed softly. Andy didn't. He watched me like every word mattered. But mine arrived as a misunderstanding, a rumor, a very public academic disaster. My voice shook. I kept going anyway. I didn't write Lara's letter, but I think part of me wished I had, because when you said yes, I was terrified. I looked at him, and happy. Andy stopped breathing. Fair. He had done that to me all week. So this one is mine. I lifted the paper. No borrowed courage, no wrong name on the envelope, no running. The room blurred at the edges. Andy Carter, I like you. Not the golden boy, not the headline. You. The guy who buys my coffee right, catches me before I fall, and somehow makes staying feel less scary than running. Silence. Huge, terrifying silence. Then Andy stepped closer. He unfolded his letter with hands that were not quite steady. I said yes to the wrong letter, he began, voice low. But I meant it for the right person. My chest cracked open, softly, safely. He looked straight at me. Beavis Parker, I don't want a rumor. I don't want a performance. I want you, if you still want me. I forgot the class, the assignment, the gossip page, everything but the space between us. So I reached for his hand. Yeah, I whispered. I still want you. Professor Holloway was definitely crying. Mia was absolutely filming. Someone whispered, 10 out of 10. Andy laughed under his breath, then squeezed my hand. His phone buzzed before we even made it off stage. Dad. For 1 second, Andy's hand tightened around mine. Old fear. Old habit. Then he looked at me, inhaled slowly, and answered, Hey, Dad. I almost pulled my hand away. Andy held on. No, he said, voice steady. It wasn't a publicity stunt. The room went so quiet I could hear my own pulse. A voice snapped through the phone, sharp enough that I heard only fragments. Scholarship, donors, embarrassing. Andy went pale. For 1 awful second, I thought he might let go. Instead, his fingers tightened around mine. No, he said again, quieter this time. I'm not fixing it. Another pause. His jaw trembled once, then it stopped. I spent my whole life making sure people could be proud of me without actually knowing me. My chest ached. Andy looked at me. I'm done doing that. Then his voice steadied. I'm dating Beavis because I want to. If that makes me messy, then I guess I'm messy. My heart forgot how to behave. Andy listened for another second, then ended the call without apologizing. For the first time since I'd met him, the golden boy didn't look polished. He looked free. Lara found us outside the theater 10 minutes later. Her eyes dropped to our joined hands. Then she smiled. So, she said, should I apologize or take credit? Apologize, I said immediately. Andy tilted his head. Maybe a little credit. I looked at him. He smiled like he enjoyed being in danger. Lara laughed, then stepped forward and hugged me. I'm really happy for you, Beavis. For once, I didn't make a joke. I just hugged her back. Thanks. When she pulled away, she looked at Andy. Take care of him. Andy glanced at me, his thumb brushing once over my knuckles. I plan to. Lara nodded like that was all she needed to hear. Then she walked across the quad, leaving us standing there in the soft evening light with the entire week finally behind us. Andy looked at me. So, our assignment is over. It is. Our fake relationship is over. Tragically. His smile widened. Good. I frowned. Good? Because now I can ask you properly. My stomach performed a small, embarrassing backflip. Ask me what? Andy turned fully toward me, still holding my hand. Beavis Parker, do you want to go on a real date with me tonight? I should have answered like a normal person. Instead, I stared at him like he'd just handed me another cursed envelope. Tonight? Unless you already have plans. I did. His smile faltered for half a second. Oh. I was planning to spend the entire night wondering if you were going to ask me out. Andy blinked, then he laughed, soft and bright. Movie? I squeezed his hand. Movie. 2 hours later, we were sitting in the back row of the campus theater with a bucket of popcorn too large for 2 people and a romantic comedy neither of us was actually watching. At least I wasn't. Every few minutes, Andy's knee brushed mine. Every time, my brain reacted like it had received breaking news. Halfway through the movie, the couple on screen finally admitted they loved each other in the rain. Andy leaned closer. Terrible technique. I glanced at him. What? Confessing in the rain? Overdone. You confessed in front of our entire acting class. Exactly. Original. I bit back a laugh. The couple on screen kissed. The theater went quiet. Suddenly, Andy wasn't watching the movie anymore. He was watching me. What? I whispered. His fingers found mine on the armrest. I spent all week pretending I wasn't waiting for this. My breath caught. This time I didn't make a joke. I didn't look away. And I didn't run. Andy leaned in slowly, giving me every chance to stop him. I met him halfway. Our first kiss was soft, gentle, unhurried. It lasted only a moment, but somehow it made every rumor, every misunderstanding, every ridiculous panic spiral feel worth surviving. When we pulled apart, Andy was smiling. So, he whispered, worth the wrong envelope? I smiled back. No. His eyebrows lifted. It was worth finding the right person. The movie kept playing. The world kept moving, but for once, I wasn't trying to escape any of it. I just sat there in the dark theater, holding Andy Carter's hand, knowing the semester I thought I'd ruined had somehow turned into the best love story I'd ever lived. And this time, I wasn't running anymore.